welcome to another episode of DieCastRestos. I'm Jason, and this is the Matchbox 40B Leyland Royal Tiger Coach, produced by Lesney from 1961 to 1967. It's a bit of an oddity in the series, as it is based on a vehicle that only reached prototype stage. All models came in this metallic pale blue/silver colour and came with a variety of wheels, either knobbly or fine, in grey, silver or black. My coach has had the base pushed up inside the body where it has comfortably seized itself inside, although this shouldn't be too hard to rectify. So I remove the base from the body with some force and take the wheels off. I then use my modified shallow drill bit to remove the rivet edges holding in the window unit. Here are all 9 components that make up the Royal Tiger, and with that I pour on some hot water for paint stripping and caustic soda application. The caustic soda bath has left this distinct outline of the body in the water rather interestingly. Now on to polishing the metal pieces with a wire brush in my rotary tool. As I mentioned before, the Royal Tiger as a coach in this guise didn't make it into production. Rather oddly, it was brought into the range 5 years after it had been showcased at the Earls Court Commercial Motor Show in London in September 1956. The chassis was known as the Leyland Royal Tiger Worldmaster, but the bodywork was styled by Italian automotive design house Ghia. The bodywork was also built in Italy by Autocostruzioni Casaro. I hope you liked my Italian accent. The dimensions of the coach were 36 feet and 4 inches in length, approximately 11 metres, and 8 foot 2 wide, around 2.5 metres wide. At the time, these dimensions were not legal on British roads. As there aren't any posts for riveting the base to the body, I have to be a bit inventive with how I could prime and paint it. So I used a safety pin through the 2 slots in the sides where the base attaches. There is also a slot at the rear of the body where a tongue in the base fits into. A rivet at the rear replaced the tongue and slot in the final versions of this model, and the tongue and slot was instead moved to the front in place of the 2 pins located on the sides. I give the windscreen and wheels a good scrub in some warm, soapy water. Apparently there was an error when setting up the cast for the coach, so it was made slightly longer than it should have been. As such, the boxes had to be enlarged, and it made the model larger than the others in the range. Much alike the Leyland pipe truck from a couple of weeks back, Leyland Truck and Bus had a mutual history until 1981 when they were split. Bus operations were sold in a management buyout to become Leyland Bus. They were then bought out by Volvo Buses in 1988, where most of the Leyland range was discontinued. Historically, Leyland had been pioneers in the bus industry, being one of the first manufacturers to design a chassis specifically to be utilised as buses instead of trucks, by featuring lower level chassis to aid passenger boarding. So here I have applied Tamiya polycarbonate spray PS49 Sky Blue Anodised Aluminium. I've previously used this to some success on the 25B Volkswagen Beetle. It applies really quite smoothly, and will of course need to be coated with a clear layer to protect it and give it that extra sparkle. Sadly though, it wasn't until I'd applied the paint that I noticed these glaring gouges along the right side. They hadn't been filled in by the primer. It was a big wasteful error on my part. So I went back to my bench to use some model filler on the multitude of holes. While the filler dries, I refit the wheels to the repainted black base and highlight the axle ends with my chrome pen. I then sand down the filler with some very fine grit sanding mesh before applying Tamiya's thicker primer to fill out any gouges I may have missed. Once recoated, I use my chrome pen again to detail the grille and the headlights. Early versions also had red tail lights painted in, so I prepare for this with some chrome, then dab some red paint on with a fine brush. So here are the 3 major components that make up the Royal Tiger. Step 1 is to reattach the cleaned windscreen to the rivets in the roof. This is achieved with a firm push over both. Step 2 is to insert the rear tab and have to manoeuvre the body to slide in those pins either side and complete the build. So this is what I started off with, a shabby and what turned out to be gouged Leyland Royal Tiger Coach. It was not a straightforward 5-minute build as I had hoped, but they never proved to be. That paintwork was really rough and I thought a good chance to use some lovely PS49 once again. So here is what it looks like now. This Royal Tiger has earned its stripes with a striking new paint job, tidied windscreen and fixed base. The plastic screen is much clearer and the gouged right hand side has been smoothed off. I've painted in the tail lights to add character, and the axle ends are nice and shiny following a dose of Molotow chrome. It's a model that lasted 6 years in the Matchbox range, and so it's very common despite the real thing being a one-off. It's a shame that the striking design never made it to production. Well, that's all from me for today. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe for all the latest from the channel, and don't forget to like, comment and share if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.